It's the last sign you'd want to see while vacationing in Madrid. Soaring energy prices across Europe mean even simple pleasures like ice cubes are not easy to come by.
Because of the war in Ukraine, electricity prices started to skyrocket, and from that moment we were overwhelmed. This is the period during which we usually start to stock the ice for the summer. But with these electricity prices, the refrigeration chambers are costing us too much.
Ice cube suppliers aren't the only ones feeling the heat.
The world just had one of the 3 warmest Julys on record. And obviously, as we all know, there was a very prolonged, very intense heat wave affecting parts of Europe.
The unusually hot weather is worsening drought-like conditions in much of southern Europe. The flow in major waterways like Italy's River Po and the Rhine in Germany has slowed to critical levels.
Normally, you have more than 2 meters of water under the ship, but now you only have 40 centimeters in some places. It's a challenge.
That's clogging up shipping lines and worsening Europe's energy crisis, just as many countries were hoping to step up electricity generation.
Before the Ukraine war, 1 in 10 barges were carrying coal. Now, it's 1 in every 5 barges.
2 of Germany's biggest coal power plants have warned they will cut output in coming weeks. Production from hydropower plants in Spain, Portugal and Italy is down by 30% compared to last year. And in France, the output from nuclear power plants is expected to fall because there isn't enough water to cool their reactors. EU leaders say they're making concerted efforts to alleviate the bloc's energy crisis.
We have taken decisions to improve our energy supply and also ensure that we create European infrastructures that make mutual support easier.
They want to cut reliance on Russian natural gas and oil supplies and ensure they have adequate fuel reserves for winter. But unfavorable weather is leaving that plan on thin ice. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
For more on this, economist Taha Arvas joins us now in the studio. He's an Adjunct Professor of Finance at Bogazici University. Good to have you back with us, Taha. Really, things are quite terrible for Europe right now in terms of their energy supplies. Not only are they contending with the Ukraine war, but they've also got natural disasters that are beyond their control. Plus, in France, for example, apparently half of their nuclear reactors are offline for maintenance. Could it possibly get any worse for Europe?
Unfortunately, the answer is yes, it could get much worse. The Rhine and the Rhone, as you know, are major waterways where barges transport fossil fuels to much of Europe. If they go down anymore, if this drought continues, if the rivers go down anymore, they currently are in a traffic jam, barges on the river. They could completely get stuck, and then there'd be major problems. It could get much worse. Russia could shut off all supplies to Europe of natural gas, which is at a 15-year high as it is and currently continuing to spike. But the good news is Russia is dependent on Europe to finance this war. Europe is single-handedly, frankly, financing, not single-handedly, but much of the financing is coming from Europe to continue the war. So it could get worse in that Russia could say, we don't need your money anymore. We will no longer be selling you natural gas and oil, etc. That's how it could get worse for Europe, but it could get better in that the summer's winding down. Maybe we'll get some rain here. Maybe these rivers will come back up. Maybe the war will wind down. But that's wishful thinking, frankly.
And we know the European Commission has been scrambling to try and secure alternative gas supplies from other countries. It really wants to wean the continent off Russian gas supplies. Ultimately, will that be successful? Can that be achieved?
Not really, frankly. I mean, the short answer is Europe has positioned itself, and ironically, Donald Trump is the one who said many times that Europe is very much positioned itself dependent completely on Russia for oil, for natural gas and for energy, and that is very much true. So it's not a very quick fix. They are talking about switching from natural gas to crude oil for heating or for energy for production, things like that, but that's a very expensive alternative. It's not very efficient. It's horrible for the environment, obviously, but is it possible? Yes. Potentially, but if the U.S. economy gets better, as we're hearing, if the global economy gets better, then those prices are also going to be high. So we'll have to see what happens in the next few weeks.
We also heard recently that Germany was looking to refire its coal-fired power plants in the wake of this energy crisis. I'm wondering, is one of the unintended victims in all this the climate crisis, global heating? Is that ultimately going to take a back seat as Europe really tries to secure its energy supplies?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's on no one's mind right now, frankly. Unfortunately, people are worried about in Germany now and much of Europe just keeping the lights on in winter, keeping the heat on. They've talked about, the EU said they're going to have a 15% reduction in use of energy during the winter, but how are you going to get that done? It's easier said than done. So I think, unfortunately, the climate has taken a major backseat and will continue to take a backseat. Potentially, more nuclear power plants are going to be needed across Europe to prevent such a future crisis where they're dependent so much on imported fossil fuels.
Okay, Taha Arvas, always good to get your thoughts on this issue. Thank you again for joining us.